Okay, which says we're live. On one machine, it says we're live. On another machine, it's still waiting. But I will wait no longer. Hi, I'm Brent Leary. It's been a while since I did a few good minutes. And so, I believe it's time to do a few good minutes. I have a guest. Little technical difficulties right now, but hopefully we'll get those worked out. But in the meantime, it's good to be back. It's been, I don't know, about a month or so. And you might notice I'm wearing this. That looks nice. This Paisley Park thing. I went and visited Paisley Park, and I'm still kind of living off of that because that was really cool. Being a Prince fan and all, it's one of those things you just don't get over. But I'm glad to be back doing a few good minutes. My guest, hopefully he'll be able to make it. I hope he's having some technical difficulties, but I hope Jeremy Epstein is able to make it because he's the guy that I go to. I've been going to for years when it comes to anything related to blockchain. Particularly from a marketing perspective, because he's a marketer at heart. I met him when he was at Microsoft and he was a marketer. Then he went to Sprinkler and he was like VP of marketing there. I think he's been a CMO at a couple of other places. But he's always been the most kind of dedicated evangelist, so to speak, when it comes to all things blockchain. So I have been looking forward to having this conversation because, quite honestly, ever since the whole world just bowed down to Gen AI and large language models and ChatGPT, I haven't heard about anything else. Matter of fact, I was at Adobe Digital Summit, and it was ironic because every event that I've gone to this year, beginning of this year, Adobe is a perfect example. It was all you heard about was Gen AI, and they have Adobe Firefly, which is their kind of their mid journey kind of answer when it comes to being able to create really nice images using and now they actually integrated it into Photoshop, but it was all Gen AI all the time. And when I was, you hear that, and then I had a chance to talk to me and Paul Greenberg. We both had a chance to talk to PwC's chief metaverse officer. So I was like, wow, metaverse. That's something that we were all talking about not that long ago. And now nobody talks about it for the most part. So I had an opportunity to ask this gentleman who was PwC's chief metaverse officer. I asked him, so, you're at these conferences, you're taking all this in. Have you noticed that nobody's talking about the metaverse anymore because everybody's talking about Gen AI and all this kind of stuff? And he said, yeah, I noticed it. And it's actually kind of a good thing because it actually allows the metaverse to be out of the spotlight and working on actual use cases, things that will actually possibly take hold without having that shiny spotlight and everybody making fun of metaverse, because now everybody's talking about ChatGPT and Gen AI and large language models. So I'm hoping Jeremy will be able to join me because I want to learn. I want to hear what's going on with blockchain because you don't hear anything about it anymore. Everybody is so wholly consumed with all things Gen AI, large language models, ChatGPT. We don't talk about anything else. So I'm wondering, are we like done with with blockchain? Does anybody care about blockchain anymore? Maybe besides Jeremy. Okay. All right. I see him. He's here. Technical difficulties are done with. Me blathering on, done with. It's time to hear from, I like to call him the OG, the original gangster of blockchain, the one and only, Jeremy Epstein. There he is.
Thanks, brother. I am so sorry about that. And first of all, I want to say thank you so much for pronouncing my last name correctly because Epstein is a lot of people say that, and of course he's the pedophile, and it killed my SEO overnight, hurt the brand immeasurably. So I really appreciate the fact that you said Epstein. So I will say that, and
Hey,
I will
it took
start.
me,
Yeah,
it did
sorry.
take me a couple of years to actually let
No,
it
you did,
finally
but you got it
break.
right. You got it good. And also, the thing I'll also say is the myth of Mac infallibility is like total myth. It's like I come on and it's like freezing on me. I'm like, whatever. But I'm here. Anand's here. The rest of the crew is here. I'm ready to go. Let's a few good minutes. Sorry for the delay, but we've all been there. It
It's
all
all
good.
right.
All
We're
right.
all good. Yeah, you just gave me an opportunity to warm everything up, get
I
it
know. I
ready.
know. I know.
Because quite honestly, like I said, man, ever since like late last year, I don't know, October, November last year, it's all Gen A, it's
All
all
Gen
Chat
AI.
GPT
Yep.
all the time, all large language models all the time. I
Yep.
was at a few conferences earlier this year. It doesn't matter. It was Adobe, um, some other ones, Gen AI front and
Yeah.
center,
Yep.
large language models all over the place, Chat
Yep.
GPT in your
Yep.
face.
Yep. Yep.
And I was sitting there, we were doing a watch party, me and our mutual buddy Paul Greenberg, and we had an opportunity to bring in onto our show while we were doing this watch party, PwC's chief metaverse officer. And I was like,
Nice.
metaverse, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
people talking about that. It's been, last year, of course, because everything is Gen AI now. So I asked him, so what's going on with the metaverse? Are you happy that Gen AI is kind of taking over the spotlight? And the honest answer is like, yeah, because it actually allows things to actually happen. I mean,
Mm.
without having a spotlight, because the hype was pretty intense for metaverse, and there was a lot of backlash because I guess with Facebook renaming themselves the Meta, and
Yep.
all the efforts that they put into it, and people are just making fun of it. And he was like, you know what? It's nice to not have the spotlight on this stuff, and it
Yeah.
allows actual stuff to take place. So I was thinking to myself, wow, you know what? Metaverse, that actually came after blockchain. We were talking about
Sure.
blockchain 4 or 5 years ago, and it was all over the place. And it hit me. I don't hear anybody talking about that anymore. And
Mm.
the Gen AI stuff is taking over. So I had to come back to you because you're my boy. You're the guy I
Thank
go
you.
to
Thank
with
you.
all this stuff. So tell me, maybe it's like a two-folded kind of question. Um, are you seeing the same thing when it comes to blockchain that the folks on the metaverse are seeing in terms of, wow, we got room to breathe now. There's opportunity to really develop things without everybody being so critical, being in the spotlight? Or is this like blockchain is going to be completely consumed by what's going on with all this stuff on the Gen AI side that people just don't care about it anymore? Where are we at with this stuff?
Yeah. All good stuff. I mean, there's I'll answer your question and then I'll start waxing philosophical on top of that.
All right.
And I should say I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm glad you're wearing your Rams hat. I would be disappointed if you weren't.
I
Yeah.
got a Cleveland Ram.
Oh,
This is a
Cleveland
special.
Rams. Like
This is a
that's
special ad. I brought it out just for you, man.
nice. Speaking of OG, exactly. Um, so there's a saying in the crypto world, bear markets are for builders. And I think like that comment by your friend from the metaverse is exactly spot on. Like, there's sort of jokes of like people in crypto Twitter saying, "Hey, is anyone still here? Who's still around?" And the people who are still left in the space, we like to say they're missionaries and they're mercenaries in crypto. The
Mhm.
mercenaries are long gone. If you're still in crypto right now, you're pretty damn dedicated to the cause, right? And
You're a
people
true
are
believer,
building.
man.
You're a true believer, and not even a true believer like in the potential of the technology. You're a true believer in the necessity of the technology, because all this Gen AI stuff, all this LLM stuff, which is awesome, don't get me wrong, is all sitting on centralized systems. So it comes back to the exact same problem that either you're going to have OpenAI and a few other companies own the world and have these centralized systems, which then lead to, deplatforming, surveillance state. I just saw a thing this morning that China now are equipping their police officers with glasses that can then pull out AI and recognize who's in a crowd, name them, pull in all their Weibo profiles, and you can immediately do like one of those Black Mirror episodes, basically, and immediately deplatform them. Like,
Jeez.
all this stuff, you, my friend, do not want to live in a world like that. And all this stuff is still sitting on centralized systems. And that's great. And they're fast and they're beautiful and it's fun to use them until they're used against you. Then it's not so fun anymore. And so when you take a step back, it's like we have to build right now. And yes, like it's frustrating as hell. Like on the one hand, it's been like 13 years since Bitcoin was invented. But on the other hand, I just finished this great book called The Last Days of Night about the earliest parts of the electricity revolution, Westinghouse and Edison, whatever. You know how long it took for electricity to become quote unquote mainstream? Like 40 years. Okay. Like this stuff takes time. And like people like jump around from one thing to the other. Like the internet, man, I got my first email account in 1991, right? Nothing like really happened. Internet like wasn't, people were like in 2000, like internet's dead. Well, hello, right? So right now I'm looking at this and like, yes, blockchain, crypto, it's like 56K dial-up modem infrastructure right now. And the promises were of Netflix. Okay, you can't run Netflix on 56K modems, but the inventions are happening, the engineering's happening, the iterations are happening, and not only is it going to work, it has to work.
I'm just looking at what Sven is saying, but things are moving faster. Of course, everything moves faster as time goes.
Moved. That's true. He's not wrong, but
Right.
That's also true in crypto. That's also true in crypto because you have permissionless 24/7 open innovation platform and you allow for that. So, yes, things do move faster, but like it doesn't change the fact that we are faced with, we talk about big fundamental existential things like climate change and whatever. And don't get me wrong, those things are important. But like the world is either going to sit on increasingly powerful centralized systems or on powerful decentralized systems. It's going to be one of the two. And yeah, there'll be some hybrid, but it has to be bent one way or the other. And like, as a lifelong technologist, I kind of see where the centralized model goes. And it doesn't end up well for most of us in one way or another. And to me, that's a cause worth fighting for.
Yeah, you know what? It's so interesting. I've recently had some conversations with a lot of the kind of the big enterprise vendor folks, and it feels like this Gen A stuff is actually kind of tipping the scales back into a bit of the centralized hands because
100%.
You're hearing, you see in these partnerships, NVIDIA is such an interesting company because a lot of these enterprise software vendors are forming these partnerships with NVIDIA so that they can, kind of design their own AI chips.
Yep.
And they can run it on their own data servers. So they are, as one vendor put it, we can control the vertical from bare metal all the way up to the apps we create. Are you seeing that shift? Because it seemed like blockchain was trying to tip the scales back, in the other direction with decentralization. But with Gen AI, it feels like the hands are starting to get into the companies like the Microsofts and the Googles and the Amazons who can do it all and go from bare metal, Oracle, bare metal to apps. So do you feel like this Gen AI is actually moving that pendulum back to centralized systems?
I mean, short answer, yes, because the decentralized systems are not robust enough to run an LLM with any type of meaningful speed yet. So you have to run them on centralized systems. You just can't do it otherwise. The one part that your friend left out with the bare metal all the way to the apps is that they said we can control bare metal to apps. They left out the the part where they can control the user too. And that's the part they don't want you to talk about and don't want you to think about. But if you control the entire stack, another book I just read, I've been on a book reading binge, was all about Rockefeller, right? It was called Titan by Ron Chernow, the same guy who wrote the Hamilton book. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, the first
it's about the Standard Oil days of Rockefeller.
exactly, and the dude controlled the entire chain, the entire stack. And when you control the entire stack, you can dictate. In his day, dictate pricing. In our day, dictate thought. You know, I mean, that's what happens. And like, so I'm not going to be. I'm an ardent defender of decentralization. That secret's well out. I believe in the. I think the tech is cool. I think the business model innovation potential is super cool. But most importantly, I think the values are what's important. And like, that's the thing, man. It's like, if we keep, people worry about like dystopian AI stuff. The dystopian AI stuff is when everything is run by OpenAI or Microsoft or Google Bard. And don't get me wrong, I use these tools. They're amazing. But like, you have a choice. And to me, like, that's a fundamental decision that we're all going to have to deal with. And to me, it's worth pushing a little bit on the decentralization side to try to get it there. And yes, it's slow and frustrating. I wish I could solve this like tomorrow. And also then you'd be like, Jeremy's a fucking genius, but that I tell people I'm either a visionary genius or a total moron. We just won't know for a decade.
So, but how do you, I mean, the need for speed is incredibly hard to fight. I mean,
Yeah.
the ability to do certain things seems to trump stuff like data privacy. Because if
100%.
you can give me an app that I can use right now for free, well, not paying dollars, paying for my time, attention, and data, people are giving it up pretty quickly. It's kind of hard to fight that trend, isn't it?
It's impossible to fight that trend. And that's where so far the crypto blockchain industry has not delivered. And it's frustrating. I mean, there's no argument that like if I'm like, hey, it's like I'm actually I've been studying a lot of climate tech recently too. And like climate tech,
a lot of studying generally. You're just studying all this.
I just there's so as these guys said, there's a lot going on. I just try to read and I use ChatGPT to do it all. It saves me some time, right? Exactly. So like climate tech has the exact same problem. Like we all know, well, not we all know, many of us agree that the climate is a priority. But right now the economics aren't there. Like there's all types of there's this huge gap. So people are like, well, I could leave my farm and like not till the land, but that's going to cost me money. So I'm not going to do that, even though that's worse for the soil or whatever. So like, you're totally right. And where crypto and blockchain have to raise like step level innovation is in the speed of delivery of applications. Yes, usability for sure still sucks. I mean, it sucks throughout the entire stack. It's like it sucks at the user experience. It sucks at the speed experience, and it sucks at the full decentralization experience. And we need to do it better and faster because at a certain point, it's going to become a problem. But you're right. Like for now, like blockchains clearly, if there's first and second place only, we're in second place, and that's life.
Let me ask you this then, because this conversation sparks all sorts of directions to go in. But are all these technologies related to large language models, Gen AI, and all the ChatGPT, all these, are they kind of diametrically opposed to what's going on with blockchain in the sense that if one wins, the other one loses or suffers?
I don't think so. I mean, I think you can run these applications. Sorry, in theory, you can run these applications on decentralized systems. It's just that right now they're not. They're 50. Like you're saying, I want to run Netflix decentralized, and I'm telling you, well, it's the innovations there. It's just the end of it's like slow and choppy, and you'll watch like 12 frames a second, a minute. You know, it's like, but
So in other words,
eventually
I'm not gonna watch it,
you're
basically.
not going to watch it, but it's possible. And the point that I keep telling people is we've crossed the chasm from impossible to possible. Now we have to kind of cover all the distance from possible to actually usable, you
Mm.
know? And that's the part that we have to sort of accelerate on. And the good news is coming back to the fact that everybody thinks blockchain is dead and everyone is off in AI. It's like, okay, now the valuations are down. People like there's not as much, you know, all the riffraff like the Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world have been like destroyed and gotten out of there. You know, now people can actually focus on how do we build decentralized systems that work at scale but deliver at Web 2.0 speed and Web 2.0 usability. That's the
Mm.
fundamental issue.
You brought up Sam Bankman-Fried. Are all the hucksters, all the big hucksters out of blockchain or Bitcoin and blockchain and crypto? Because to me, that was always one of the holdups is that
Yeah.
people are afraid of these shiesty characters. And I don't know if you juxtapose that with Sam Altman at OpenAI, who's basically saying, "Hey, we want regulation to come in. We're kind of afraid of what we built, and we want guidance." Versus the shiesty folks who are like, working in this black box. Has that been another one of those things that has really hurt crypto?
Uh, I mean, I think there are a couple questions baked in there. So the SBF stuff and all the hucksters certainly hurt because people like, connect all the dots and they're like, oh, that's crypto. And I keep telling people that's like saying that Enron disaster means we should ban energy. Like, no, Enron they were a bunch of crooks, just like SBF was a crook. Energy still should stick around just like crypto. SBF wasn't touching crypto. So I think are all the hucksters gone? I could never say that all the hucksters gone, but if you're a huckster in crypto right now, like you're pretty damn dedicated, man. Because like there's not a lot going on. Like you really believe in the long-term potential, like or you're planning some sort of master. But no, there's some hucksters, and they're always going to be hucksters, and whatever, and that's fine. Like it is what it is. Sam Altman, I don't know him. I don't have any reason to suspect he's in criminal activity, but I suspect the reason why he wants regulation is because now he wants to build a moat around his own product, right? That's why he wants regulation is like, let's regulate this in the way that it actually works for me so I can keep all the other people out. Like, so that's my take. I don't think there's anything like evil or sinister. I think he's just trying to be like regulatory capture kind of move that any other company would try to, in a centralized company would try and do. SBF is just a crook, and the hucksters, hopefully have been blown up in the last. I mean, it's the fallout from all the hucksters has, I've got shrapnel in my back to prove it, but it hurts. But yeah, I think those are slightly different things.
Here's a statement from my buddy Sven. Blockchain is dead, but Web3 is there. I mean, what do you make of that? How do you approach a statement like that?
I mean, I don't know exactly where Sven's coming from, but like, there are people who say like blockchain, not Bitcoin, or Bitcoin, not blockchain. Like, I agree. Like, at the end of the day, this is about Web3, and it's about a self-sovereign, permissionless, 24/7 open global platform sitting on a public distributed ledger technology secured by crypto tokens. Like, that's what happens right there. Now, if you just want blockchain as like an enterprise database, fine. I mean, to me, that's not super exciting. Like, go do that. I mean, yes, you should do that, but like, that's not a big business model innovation. That's just a better database to keep all your systems in sync.
Anand says, do sus folks inadvertently increase the awareness of what's genuine in fast-paced tech adoption?
I don't even know what a sus folk is.
Suspect, I think, right?
Oh. Do sus folks inadvertently increase the awareness of what's genuine? See, that's an on-end question. It's like 7 levels of meta, and I can't quite actually put my head around what I don't know whether to say yes or no. Like,
Yeah, that's
sorry,
not in
buddy.
question.
I love you, man. I'm just like, I don't. Do suspects inadvertently increase the adoption? I have to parse that. I need to put that into Chat GPT and figure out what I
Oh,
should answer on that one, buddy. That's the
all
thing. Hey,
right. We
look.
got
Yeah, I think, look, awareness. There's awareness and there's perception. So, like, helping with awareness is a good thing. I don't think we like 7 years ago when I started on this journey, awareness was a problem. No one knew what I was talking about. Now everyone's heard of Bitcoin, everyone's heard of blockchain. That's fine. Their perceptions could be all over the map. And I think right now, the SBFs of the world have heard have heard us a lot with the perception. And I think it's incumbent upon Web3 to start delivering more like more tangible examples, like the guy who left Ukraine with no money, couldn't access his bank accounts, his credit cards didn't work, but he had his Bitcoin on his USB stick. Or like the people I've met from Venezuela who were crying and saying, if it weren't for Bitcoin, my family would be dead. Like
wow.
there are stories, and like Lebanon, like you've seen what's happening with the banks there and what have you. It's like a lot of this stuff is, or I'm going to El Salvador in July actually, because they've made Bitcoin legal tender there. And they're basically trying, and they bought a bunch of Bitcoin, they're using as collateral, and they're trying to reinvent themselves. If this experiment in El Salvador works, and it's like a Times Square size billboard, I'll grant you that. But if it works, in 10 years, El Salvador is the richest country in Central America. They're like
Wow.
Singapore. They've eliminated taxes on patent. The president arrested 60,000 gang members, and the homicide rate has dropped from 45 a day to less than one. So, like,
Wow.
this is a country that's basically saying we're going to bet ourselves on this digital future. So, my point of that tirade was that the innovation around Web3 and crypto that's going to really make meaningful impact and difference on the lives of people around the world isn't going to be stuff you're going to see in the US. It's not going to be stuff you're seeing in the Western Europe. It's going to be stuff you read about from Venezuela and Central America and South America and Africa and places like that, where they're like what they have at the opportunity, Brent, to do with crypto is leapfrog in the same way that like Eastern European countries skipped over landlines and went straight to cell phones in the 90s.
Hmm.
Because their whole systems, like their paper based and their banking systems, are horrific. So they can leapfrog. The leading candidate for the presidency of Argentina right now wants to abolish their central bank and is pro Bitcoin. That's the kind of stuff that starts to happen in those types of countries. And all it takes is a couple, examples where it's like, okay, I don't need the Federal Reserve exporting their inflation to my country anymore. I'm going to go try another path. And that's where I think you look for the innovation. So
Hmm.
zoom out on the time frame of how long it takes. Even though the cycles feel faster, people are still slow, and zoom out on where the innovation is going to take place. That would be my, maybe it's Jeremy trying to believe his own bullshit that this stuff will still happen. But at the end of the day, like that's where I think the story, and I'm irritated with the U.S. government right now because I think they're basically chopping like ourselves off at the knees in terms of long-term competitiveness in the financial services industry. I understand why they're doing it. I still think it's short-sighted.
Is that an example of, and this leads into Anand's question, is that an example of why you stay interested in this, the opportunities, the kind of potential of doing really big things? Because right now, like we've been talking about, everybody else has been taken over by all, Gen AI and all that other stuff. Is that why you stay engaged with this?
I mean, I stay engaged with this so that every so often when people are like, what the hell happened with blockchain? I'm the only guy still standing. So like, there you go. It's like, oh, we got to call Jeremy. Like he's no, no, I mean, it's like, I guess, it's just, I just hit 50 years old a few weeks ago. and
Young
I just
man.
was, yeah, thank you. And I'm like, and I got the greatest prove it and what have you. It's all good. Although 50, my friend, is very liberating, and I figured out why. It's over the
Oh,
course of your 40s, you start caring less and less about stuff, right? But if you're too obvious about it, people think you're a jerk. But when you're 50, it's like, he's an old man. He's 50. Of course he's gonna say stuff like that. It's so liberating. So I'm just gonna accelerate that.
you've earned the right, right?
You're in the right. So my point though is like I've taken a step back and I said, look, I just embarked on the last 2.5 months on something I called Operation Florence, okay, which is all about a career renaissance for me. I actually took a 2.5 month sabbatical from the where I was working. So I've had a foot in blockchain, but you want to know why I've been reading and doing all this stuff is because I've had the time to go deep on AI and climate tech and like psychedelics and mental health and fertility technology and just micronuclear fusion and geothermal engineering and all these things and whatever. And I'm really going back, and it's all awesome. But I keep coming back to the question of like all this stuff has to sit on a decentralized platform, and if it doesn't, it means that somebody's going to be in control. And so, like when I think about the world, and I know this is going to sound like almost like the show Silicon Valley kind of thing, so I get it. But when I think about the world that I want my kids to live in, and that I actually want to feel like I can get up and fight for and be excited about, I'm like, okay, trying to make the world a little more decentralized in the face of this incredibly overwhelming technology wave that's coming at us, to me, that seems worth it. So, combination, and I just think it's better. I think it's better for people financially. I think it's going to be better in terms of removing intermediaries. I think it's better in terms of self sovereignty and privacy ultimately. And I get that people don't get it, and it's incumbent upon those of us in the industry to be like, we got to deliver shit that you want to use and gives you all those things on top of it.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, Sven went and put Anand's question about sus in the chat GPT. I'm not going to read that whole thing. It's in the comments. That's what chat GPT says. But let me go back to, I
Thanks,
met
man.
you when you were coming out of Microsoft. You Mr. Marketer, man. What? Never stop marketing, right? I mean, that's you. You're all marketer at heart. Has ChatGPT been a net positive for marketing or a net negative for marketing?
Oh, total positive.
Okay.
Total. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'll write like a brief on a blog post that I want, or like, uh, reference letter, or I actually was like, this is going to get rid of marketing consultants because I had a marketing plan I put together, and I was like stress testing it with Chat GPT, and I was actually thinking like, if you're a 25, and I don't mean I'm just picking like a young marketer and you just know what questions to ask, you could replace the CMO. Like,
Mm.
I think it's an amazing tool. Don't get me wrong. I think it's amazing. I think like it's incredible. And I've been using it, and I use Bard, and I use them almost every day, you know? And I think it's a net positive. I think it can help you think. And like I've studied prompt engineering and like all those kind of things to try to understand how to get the most out of it. These tools are valuable, just like any other digital tool could be valuable for marketers, you know? And it is what it is right now. Like I accept it. I'm not like, oh, I refuse to use it because it's impure, like I'm going to use it, but I'm going to use it to try to basically get it off, create a decentralized version that's better and safer and cheaper and pays you to use it or something like that. I don't know. You get tokens every time you come to Bush.
Do you see the potential, and maybe I'm putting my own stamp on this, but
It's
the
your show. You
potential
can do that.
the
You're allowed to do
potential
it.
to abuse the hell out of this from a marketing perspective, to rely way too heavily on this instead of using it, as Microsoft terms it, a co-pilot. It feels like there are people that are putting way too much emphasis on ChatGPT to do the lion's share of their work and not, kind of make sure that it does what it does best and allows you to do what you do best and you coexist. It feels like there's more people trying to toss everything on it. And people, I mean, you got to look at this stuff because this stuff hallucinates like crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, I did somebody put my name in and it gave like a summary, and it made a whole bunch of stuff up. So it feels like, and then there's this thing about the a lawyer that just got caught
Right.
because there are legal. He was citing
Fake
legal
case or something like that. Yeah.
that were never in there. I mean, so
Right.
there's a lot of folks that are already starting to try to let this stuff do the vast majority of their work. So do you think that we're at a point where it's a great thing, but it's quickly getting out of hand? Or do you think people are going to self-regulate and use it the way it was intended to be used?
I think the market's going to regulate them. Like maybe I have too much faith in the market, but it's like imagine we're all carpenters using hand saws, and then a power saw comes out. And there's some people like all they use now is the power saw. Like they're like, look how awesome this is, and everything's a power. You're like, well, yeah, but sometimes you actually don't need the power saw. Doesn't matter, you know. It's like sometimes you do the hands. Doesn't matter. It's like that's your focus. If all you're going to use is the power saw, you're not going to like. Eventually, people aren't going to buy the stuff you build because it's not as good as the guy, or the woman who knows how to power saw and hand saw and like just fine chisel or whatever. And like you have to have that whole suite of tools available to you. And this is a very powerful tool, but it's a tool, and part of the zen of it, if you will, is like, okay, explore it, understand it, like get in the dirt with it, mess around with it, and understand when do you deploy it and when do you not need it. And I think that's eventually like good marketing is still going to require an understanding of the broader landscape. It's still going to require like an understanding of like what are your capabilities, what are your vision, how will you align the vision with the capabilities, like how will you differentiate along the way. If you don't have that understanding, like ChatGPT can't do that for you. I mean, maybe one day, but you still have to know what question to ask ChatGPT.
All right. All right, man. This has been great.
Too
It's
much
always
caffeine
great.
in my life, right?
No, no, this is the way you've been since I met you, man. So,
I figured I
but
thought I
man,
was getting old. Oh boy.
nah, well, you are, but you haven't mellowed any yet, so that's a good thing. So you're
Trying to
right there with.
mellow, man. Trying to mellow.
Hey, man, it is always a pleasure speaking with you and getting a chance to pick your brain and to see where we're going with this. And so I'll end with this. Where are we going? What are we going to be seeing in 2 years, 2 to 5 years with blockchain compared to where we are right now, where it's completely overtaken?
Oh man, I wish I had a really. I mean, I can give you an answer, but like the good news is no one's going to come back and come back and hold me accountable for this one. So I can say like the whole world's going to be running on Bitcoin, man. Of course, like no, I think 2 to 5 years. Like I would be disappointed if we didn't have like significant mainstream adoption of like with multiple dApps with say, I don't know, 10 million daily active users.
Wow.
Like if we didn't have, I don't know, 10 or 20 of those in 2 to 5 years, that would be disappointing to me.
Awesome. All right, man. What would be the sign? What would be something that tells you we've made it? We've crossed the chasm. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Is if like you have daily active users. Like right now, the daily active user counts on like crypto networks is like it's like a rounding error for Facebook. It's like they don't even notice. It's like if it's like the difference between Monday and Tuesday. Like it's nothing. I mean, it's a joke. So if you had millions of daily active users using applications that are running on decentralized networks, and there are multiple of them, that would be a pretty good sign that like we're definitely starting to cross the chasm. If we're still having like 10, 50,000, 100,000 users or whatever, then I fall into the total moron category pretty soon. And then my kids are like, what are you doing? And I got to go figure something else out. It gets ugly and my wife's unhappy. Bad things happen. Yeah.
Okay, well, I sincerely hope that that is not the case going forward.
I'm gonna go start Hawkins CRM and working with you, Brent. Like here, Salesforce. Let's go sell this stuff.
Oh my God, I hope it never comes to that peril. But
Exactly.
and Jeremy, it's always great. Where can people learn what you're up to lately? Because I mean, within the span of 20 minutes, I found out all the different things you're studying and all this. So where can we learn more about what you're currently into?
Yeah, I mean, good starting point is this JER979 on Twitter. It links to my LinkedIn profile, also links to my blog, which is being published on a decentralized blogging network, I might add. And yeah, so I blog 5 times a week and tweet more than that, more than I should, and occasionally check in on LinkedIn. But yeah, Twitter's like a good starting place. I'm waiting for Elon to decentralize Twitter, but that hasn't happened yet.
I tell you, I don't know. Twitter has seen better days, at least from certain perspectives. But yeah,
The one thing about Elon is like I'm not willing to underestimate the guy. So like who
no, you
knows
can't.
what's gonna happen? It's early in the game, you know. That's the thing. It's like he bought it what, 6 months ago? I don't even know, or a year ago.
October,
October,
October.
yeah,
Yeah.
6 months ago. So like we're in the first, 4 minutes of the first quarter. So like, okay, and maybe he's down a touchdown, or maybe he's down 10 points, but that doesn't mean he's lost the game yet.
Here's my issue with this. Then I'll let you go. You would think the dude has enough to do with Tesla and SpaceX and the satellite stuff. Those are some really meaty, big issues that those companies are tackling. It seems like, well, why do you need to throw Twitter in there? That's my only thing.
Maybe
What's
maybe he feels free speech is pretty important.
you can do that without owning Twitter, though. I don't know. Anyway, I get
I don't
it.
know. I don't know. If I'm not in his head, nor would I want to be. I don't think. Maybe for an hour just to kind of see what's going on, and then like
Yeah,
I
as
could
long as
leave.
there's an exit,
Yeah, as long as you could like push a button and leave.
Hey man, it's always a pleasure. We definitely will be doing this somewhere down the line, not too distant future.
Thank
But
you.
awesome as always, man. Thanks a
I'm
lot for the
honored.
time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and amazing that you keep up this incredible service to the community.
Yeah, I need to put out like a GoFundMe or something now that you mentioned it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you should look into that. Exactly. Crypto deep.
All right,
Maybe you'll take Bitcoin. People will give you more.
And on that note, folks, thanks again. I will see you. What's today? Wednesday? Oh my God, I'll see you tomorrow on CRM Players with Paul Greenberg. Until then, thanks a lot. See you later.